Okay, this is the video explanation on how I made the ship details. So this includes things like the windows, the actual back of the ship, the rudder, the front detail piece, the very front detail piece, the rigging holder planks, the ladder, well, not ladder, but like climbable thing, the stairs, the extra detail on the top deck, and the extra detail on the middle deck. So first of all, I'm going to explain the modelling process in all of them, then making the high poly, and then texturing. So the first thing I worked on was the back, and I actually modelled this alongside the ship. So all this is a cube that I then added a fair few edge loops either way, and then extruded the top edges around. And then in terms of optimization, because the ship was going to be here, I deleted these faces. I mean, in terms of optimization and like improvements, I feel like it probably might have been better to have it as all just one mesh, but it was easier in terms of modeling to just do it separately, and it didn't actually come out that bad. The window was a box with a couple edge loops on the top. I think it's about 3. Yeah, 3. Did a poly, and then I brought this edge loop up like that. Brought these edge loops up like that. I mean, that's a little bit extreme compared to that. The next step was to select these faces, inset, and then extrude inwards like that. And then once again, in terms of optimization, just delete the back faces. The bars in the window are very, very low poly cylinders. They're only 3 sides, and where they all share the same smoothing group, if I turn off the wireframe and you look at it like side on, you can't tell it's only 3 sides, especially when you can't see either end. And that's another thing I did, was delete these caps and then just put it in like that. Obviously the scale in this example's really inaccurate to that. The rudder is this the original one? Alright, so yeah, the rudder, it was just a box that I then added a lot of loop cuts onto, as you can see here, and then deleted the entire top face, made it quite thin and long, and then just shaped it around the ship. So once again, this was modelled in the same file as this, so I used the ship as the reference, so I got like the scale right and knew where to put everything. For the frontal piece, this was a circle that I then got these faces here, and then just extruded them, eventually bring them together to a point. I then turbo smoothed it a little bit, just one iteration, just to round it out a bit more. because I think I used like 8 sides, where because you could see the detail head on, 8 sides wasn't a good amount, so turbo smoothed it, just rounded it out a bit more, and now you can it looks more circular up close as well. The rigging holders, these are all duplicates of one, which it was just a box with an edge loop. I then positioned this face here, this one here, to be like that, and like scaled it in a bit, or scaled it out. And then again, in terms of optimization, just deleted the faces that were going to be inside the ship. So then duplicated that for those two here. This ladder thing was an import of my test piece that I then just cleaned up the topology. I believe I made it all quads. Oh, there's some Engons there. I didn't actually notice that. Ooh. I'm sure I think it's fine in UE4 because everything gets triangularized. But that's something I should have looked at. Yeah, so if I go to non-quads, you can see I cleaned up this topology here to make it all quads. These were actually the stairs that I then added stringers to. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to have it like this, but trying to clean up the topology for this was quite difficult, so I just deleted all the stairs and just had one box. So I kept the stringers and then just made a box. Then I worked on this. I mean, this was just a box that I then extruded up like that, and then just scaled on the x-axis like that. So quite simple. And then again I deleted the bottom face, and for this started off as a dense cube. I then inset, you can see here, as 1. So I had the this like outer barrier here. I then inset again by polygon, which gave me all of these gaps, and then with those inset faces still selected, just extruded downwards, and that's how I got this. That concludes the low poly modeling. Oh, this was just a cylinder that deleted the bottom cap. So yeah, that concludes the low poly modeling. If I was to improve it, I'd probably fix up the back a little bit more, probably make it look a lot cleaner in terms of topology and look, because from certain angles it does look a little bit jagged. I mean, overall it's good, but it's just from certain angles. For the high poly, and there you can kind of see where the Engons are causing some issues. I mean, the high poly was the exact same way I did. Oh, my voice. The exact same way I did the rest of the stuff. So making sure my smoothing groups were all good. Chamfering via smoothing groups. As you can see here, what I decided to do was I had to separate this out and So to touch this as a separate object, just chamfer it, because as you saw there, the moment the moment I did the turbo smooth, all of these rounded out, which didn't look that good. So I mean, like, the high poly was pretty easy. It was just chamfering and then turbo smoothing. If I have the original file, yeah, alright. So I then put it into Substance Painter and baked my high poly. I've not actually talked about the unwrapping. So yeah, unwrap, yeah. Alright, so in terms of optimization, it's fairly optimized, I'd say. As you can see here, there were examples. Actually, I should first talk about how I unwrapped it. So this main back part here, this was a planar map on these axes here. So the Z axis is just a planar projection going down, and then the Y axis here, minus that. That was, wait, is it including that? Oh yeah, and including that. That was just a cylinder projection that I then just peeled to account for those. Probably could have done the same thing there. And yeah, the rest was just planar projection from the Z view. This piece here, this was a cylinder projection for these faces here, and then a planar projection for these two sides that I then stitched together. In terms of the window, I think, okay, so yeah, the window it's separated into hard edges, so there's a hard edge here, one there, there's one here, so then all around there and down there, and then there's this, which is just a planar projection faced inwards. These are just cylinder projections, I do believe. I mean, there are lots of them, which I believe are these ones. Nope. I think those are, yeah, those are that things. But yeah, there's quite a few cylinder projections around, like one of those. And those are the bars for the doors, the window. The box, this was a planar projection going round to, like, round those three. I then stitched on those two faces and did the same for these two here. I mean, it would have been smarter to duplicate them after unwrapping. Yeah, I didn't think of that. The front piece, well, the middle deck piece, this has a planar projection from the top-down view. The reason I didn't have, like, separated into harsh edges was because I had so many hard edges here that there would have been a load of UV islands, and to be honest, the player couldn't see too much into these gaps. So the fact that there's not much texture resolution there, it wouldn't have been a problem. So I did that, and then I do believe, yeah, I then had a cylinder projection going all the way around. To me that doesn't look relaxed. It's alright. Yeah, cylinder projection just going all the way around. So what have I talked about? I've talked about the windows, the back, the rudder. Originally with the rudder, I planned to have a planar projection along this side, minus this stuff here. So just this side here, and then that side there, and then along the bottom here. I couldn't do that because where the rudder is so long, if I was to do that, there'd be, to get everything to scale, there'd be no texture resolution for the rest of this stuff. So I had to break it down into more stable cylinder projections here. So I think I have 3. Yeah, I've got 3 altogether. So I mean, overall it's not that bad. And then I also have 1 for the curve just here. The step is just a box, so it would have been a cylinder projection for these, and then planar projection for these 2 here. The ladder is, I'm not actually sure how I did the ladder. Alright, so planar, so this one was done by edge selection. So if I just turn off, so I selected all my hard edges here, and essentially wherever I wanted there to be a seam. I mean, I did all of this unwrapping before I attached them all together. I then packed them after attaching. So I selected wherever I wanted my seam to be. I think it's like there. There. And then just selected all, quick planar and peel. And for this one, again, this was just a glorified box. So I did that the same way I believe I did. Oh, nope, these are all just individual hard edges. And same for this side. And finally, this is just a cylinder projection here with a planar projection for the cap. And then for this, it's planar projection each side. Yeah, and then a cylinder projection for this thing here. Planar projections for all of these frontal pieces. So I did like all of these ones like so, and then the back as well. I did that as one planar projection, and then I did the top and bottom like that going all the way along, and then that as one planar projection from the z-axis, and then one for these ones here, and then just putting that on, and that's the unwrapping. In terms of the unwrap optimization, there's a little bit of like blank space here, but similarly to the rest of the things, if you have too much variation in texture resolution in Substance Painter, it can ruin the look of it. It can ruin the look of some things sometimes. So decided to leave it as that was. So the next step to do was put it into Substance Painter and bake. Now, as you can see here, it looks like there's some issues going on here. and that is because this is a different normal map. So when I first baked it, this was the normal map here, and as you can see, there's the, that looks like it's the complete wrong way around. That's better. You can see it's treating the window as floater geometry. So I had to fix that, and so if you look, here is the normal map, and you can see the window there. So I took it into Photoshop and just used the spot healing brush and just did the best I could to fix that. And the result actually came out pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, but considering the problems I had, it was a good way to combat that. And then it was time to texture. So for this I used the same wood texture as the mast, so the base colour and then the fibres controlling the colour and height, followed by the dirt. And I did that for everything apart from the window. The window starts off with emissive yellow non-roughness, and then I believe it's black colour full roughness, and then black emissive. I mean, I don't think that actually, oh it does, alright, cool. I didn't think black did affect emissive, but so yeah, so black emissive, full roughness and a black colour, and that is being generated by a black mask with a dirt generator. So what's good about that is that it'll use like the ambient occlusion to generate a lot of dirt where there's ambient occlusion. So what's good is that it makes the windows look a little bit more worn and old, because there's a lot of dirt around the corners and stuff like that. And then the rest of the stuff was just the metal I've been using throughout this project. I've already talked about it, but it's like black regular metal, then roughness controller, and then height, and then the rust, which is just different colours, and full roughness, all with different masks. And yep, the final thing was the upper deck part, which is here, and this was just my B2M, the same texture I used for the railings, plus a dark, like full black colour, set to multiply and 80. And the reason I did this was just to obviously make it look a little bit darker in the crevices and stuff like that. And the final result in the ship came out really well. So yep, that concludes the ship details. Thank you for watching.